I know what I've been taught in school about slavery, but I've never seen actual slave homes. When there's a dark history, we don't want to look at it. But how does that existence of the past still affect us today? That those stories, the traumas, the fears still carry on within us. And we can find a bit of our life story here, no matter who you are. It's the story of turning trauma, pain, separation, struggle into power, into purpose and love. And that's the story of all humanity. So sites like this is an example of what's possible for humanity in terms of dark and light. The more people who enter these spaces to learn deeply, the more folks that we can heal. We're here.
So we are here at Horton Grove, and this row of houses behind us is really kind of the heart of our site here at Historic Stagville.
Where does the name Horton Grove come from?
Like most place names in this area, it comes from a white family who owned some land in this area before it was ever part of the plantation.
So Horton's Grove has 4 buildings that house slaves. How many slaves?
By 1864, the summer before emancipation, there were just over 1,000 people held in bondage across this plantation. So the 110 people who are living here were at just one of many sites like this within this massive plantation.
So before Juneteenth was an official holiday, did people come here to celebrate Juneteenth?
This is going to be, I believe, our 15th annual Juneteenth program here. And people may have been coming here informally before that, but we've been offering a public Juneteenth program here since 2006 or 2007. Okay. So we are seeing a lot more folks familiar with Juneteenth and coming here, but it's not new for our site.
All right, good.
And before we step inside, we're gonna look for a moment at these bricks here. So this chimney here is the only surviving chimney that still has all of its original bricks in it. And what makes these bricks so special is that there are actually several places in this chimney where we can find finger marks or thumbprints where you can see where an enslaved person touched the clay before it was completely dry. So you can see a pretty clear thumbprint right there. Yeah. You can see fingers exactly there. You can see here where someone's hand was grabbing, moving, or lifting that brick there.
Man, that's amazing. Do you see a lot of folks come here, tracing their family roots?
Yes.
I mean, today, coming, because this is pretty fascinating.
So for about 20 years now, we've had a really major family history project here at Stagville. And what we do is we offer free research services, in-depth archival research for free to any family who believes that they have an ancestral connection here. And I and my colleagues will go to the archives, we'll go through the libraries, we go through hundreds of pages of records, looking for any evidence we can find of that connection, scanning documents, photographing them, building family trees, and we do that almost every week for a new family here. I just worked with a family last week and we were able to take their ancestors through many different documents here, match them to people who'd been here at emancipation, and then trace their roots all the way back into the 1760s.
Yeah. Right,
that many generations of their family records here. So
that's amazing.
Yeah. There's a small step down right there at the entrance. This house is divided into 4 rooms. So like I said, many families shared this building. And so there might have been a family living here, and this one room might have been all of their living space in the house. Another family across the hall, 2 more families probably living upstairs on the 2nd story.
Man, this is sad. It is. It's but you know, because it's sad to me, this is the number one reason why we're in this space. And so when folks ask the question, why don't you see more folks that look like us in the outdoors? This atmosphere and the captivity and the danger of the woods, this is it.
I'm thinking of how this building was these families' sense of safety and refuge and love.
Yeah.
Thinking of 4 families together in a tight space and the kind of bond that they had.
We don't, of course, have that many surviving accounts that actually come from people who lived through slavery here, because people were denied the ability to read and write. They were denied the ability to document that history in many cases. But one of the scenes I often think of that comes from one of the few surviving narratives we do have is a story from a boy named Morgan who grew up enslaved on this plantation. And he was a young child when slavery ended. So his memories of slavery come from his very early years here. But he remembers growing up, living on a row of houses, probably a little bit like this one. And one of his memories of how people in his community came together and how they resisted was he talks about how families on his row would hold secret prayer meetings in the middle of the night on the row.
That's what I'm seeing in my mind. I'm seeing these groups of families together, cuddled close to each other and strategizing and looking out this window and seeing beauty and still connecting.
And Morgan says that they would wake up in the middle of the night at midnight or 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and they would meet in a room, probably just like this one, all gathered together in one house. And he says that every week people would pray on his row for abolition and for not just their own freedom, but for everyone to be free, right? For slavery to end everywhere in the United States.
This is what I think about.
And that is such a powerful vision of this room as a place of where people were building freedom and building strength, even in enslavement.
To come to an entire different region and be able to adapt to the region. And not only adapt to the region, build the region, but you don't own it. Man, that's tough, boy.
Right.
That's tough.
And of course, unsurprisingly, when slavery ended here, one of the first things we see families here speaking up in lots of different ways, claiming that freedom, saying what they believed their freedom should include. It should include a right to self-defense. It should include a right to have those family members who've been taken restored to them. But one of the first things we see is families here saying, part of our freedom needs to be land. And not just any land, the land of this place.
Absolutely.
Because this is the land they have made profitable, they have built and shaped for generations in many cases. And of course, that was denied to most families here. But it's a very, very clear statement that we see from people here after emancipation. Yeah, so we come into these buildings in the middle of the day, but like you just said, the darkness of these rooms is actually really powerful, and it's how many people might have experienced these spaces a lot of the time.
Yeah, this is something. I don't quite know how to describe it yet, but it's something.
Some of the descendant families I've worked with here at Stagville say that we should coin a new word for the feeling that they feel when they come to this place, because almost like you've said a few times in this, it's so hard
I can't even
find the
I can't even find the
we don't have an English word for that emotion.
For this.
Yeah.
You know, on one side you want to feel sad because of the, but on the other hand, I feel joy because I know that folks that look like me, they were here and they figured it out, man. They through all that pain, through all that emotional, mental, and physical. It feels like going backpacking a mountain. You're gonna have to go through something to get to something, and so I'm the byproduct of the going through something to get to something.
So this is the last historic building that I wanted to show to you all here at Stagville, and this is the building that we call the Great Barn. It's 3 stories tall, and just like the slave dwellings we saw earlier, it was built by enslaved carpenters and craftsmen. But if you look at the details of this building, the beams, the timber framing, the pegs and wedges and joints of this building, you get a sense of this building really being an absolutely expert piece of construction.
Where did they keep enslaved folks when they felt like they broke the rules?
So we don't know of specific sites where enslaved people were imprisoned or specific exact locations where we know that enslaved people were specifically sent to be brutally whipped or beaten here. We know that those things happened here.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But violence was the bedrock of the institution of slavery. Violence permeated every part of this place, and it might well be that
it happened everywhere.
Every corner of this place might have witnessed some piece of the violence of slavery,
sure.
Right?
I kind of want to go back to you for a minute. What are your folks in your family and people you interact with when you tell them what you do? How do they receive that? How do they perceive that?
There are so many different reactions that people have. It makes some people really uncomfortable. Exactly as you say, this is not history that people want to talk about sometimes, or that they are.
You think some people, so people, your friends and family, they kind of like, I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to. Why we keep talking about that? Why can't we just move on?
In some cases, but there are also people who are really interested, who want to learn more.
Yeah.
You know, I think there are many folks who have learned some version of the history of slavery, but haven't necessarily listened to those stories from their own community, from their own hometown.
Right.
And there's a way that makes that history deeper, more real, more human, when you can really connect it to the names of specific people who were here in your place, right?
Well, your job is very important, particularly to what we're doing. And the reason why your job is very important to me is because the more folks that will embrace and try to understand the lineage or the backdrop on where this fear of the outdoors comes from, I believe that more folks will then stand tall and say, I gotta go and enjoy the outdoors, because there's millions of folks out there that died before me that didn't because of this. I want us to be outdoors because I'm sick of us not being there because of fear.
And our past can be the excuse to not do something, to not be outside, to not heal. Or it could be our motivation.
Right on.
So I'm glad that we went to the deep part of why we do what we do, Earl, today and with Vera. I'm more empowered to hit the trail now.
Right.
Thank you. That's so great to hear. Thanks for being here with us.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. Right on.
Yeah.
We appreciate you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right.
Thanks for coming.
So this is a soul trail. All of the trails here on our nature preserve are named after the families who were enslaved on historic Stagville. It gives people a chance to sort of reflect and realize where they are. It takes a lot of time and resources to dig into that history and interpret it for the public. So we are very fortunate to have the historic site as a partner to help us do that at this preserve in particular.
I'm excited.
Yeah, me
too. Let's get it, baby. Ooh, let's go, baby.
Do it.
One of the biggest reasons why I think this is important for Black folks, people of color, to experience the outdoors, particularly public lands. Number one, because we pay for 640 million acres of public land.
Yep.
That's number one. Number two, public lands, many of it, national and state parks, were segregated for a long time. So even if folks that look like me wanted to go enjoy the outdoors before 1964 in some of these areas, they couldn't. But the third thing is, it is important for our children to be able to come out here, be able to sit on this bench and dream just like everybody else's child. Come on any day. Maybe it's drizzling and raining one day.
Yep.
And you seeing the raindrops dropping on the pond.
Yep.
That stuff makes us feel alive.
It does.
You hear the fish doing the thing, or hear the bullfrog, or the birds.
Yep.
You can just share this moment. Like I'm gonna share some of these for you.
So Earl, I thought we could maybe just reflect and talk about what this journey today meant to us and our whole journey as a company in this project.
Before coming here, I had already done some research. It's not that I didn't want to come here, but I wasn't expecting to feel the way I felt once I actually got out of the car and stepped on the ground. I said to someone it felt a bit creepy. And that's not a word that I'm saying that to dishonor our ancestors, but the place itself felt like a place and time that I didn't want to be in. Because I know of all the horrific things that have happened in this space, right on these lands. And also, because I know the way folks were treated here, the folks that look like me that were treated here in regards to the woods and nature is the very same reason why folks that look like you and I haven't really explored the outdoors.
Yeah.
And so we use this opportunity, this time, to shift the narrative and move it forward. I'm confident in that.
Yeah.
How about you?
I've been on a very deep soul search journey of healing. As I recognize, as I come into my career and myself as a young adult, who am I and how can I heal not only myself but heal generations of my family?
Right on.
And I'm looking at that red roof house they built here on this land after the slave quarters. And you know, I worked on a plantation while I met you, Earl, in order to learn how to farm and take back the tools that was lost as my family's immigrated to America. And I lived in a house just like that. And now I'm sitting here reflecting like, oh wow. I have been walking in the footsteps connecting with my ancestors, truly.
Right.
I'm only motivated now. When I connect here, what happened here, I'm not angry.
Right on.
I'm not crying.
Right on.
But I'm motivated to continue this path, this purpose, not only for me, but for millions of other people who are searching for that missing piece.
Man, that's good. That's good because it leads me into this very thought process of the outdoors, man. Whether you are in the outdoor space, whether you're a rock climber or a backpacker or RVer or a hunter or fisherman or historian, this is the call to action for you who love the outdoors, who say you love the outdoors and you want to see everyone in the outdoors. This is a call to action to you, is to understand the history of why folks that look like me have not been in the outdoors, and then take further steps in inviting us, giving us more knowledge of the outdoors that you know now, and how we navigate through it. And we all can do it together and in unity. We can. So I appreciate going on this journey with you. There were some moments there I wanted to cry, But there's certainly the moments of triumph. I felt strong that there are folks who were on this property who fought teeth and nail to live, to survive, and to figure out how to get through the next day. Yeah. And I'm thankful. I'm thankful for Daquan, for Vera, for giving us an amazing tour. I'm thankful to the state of North Carolina for investing in such project to tell these stories and to make sure that folks, particularly folks that look like us, understand how vital it is for them to come and enjoy these preserved places.
That's how we take our power back.
Right
That's
on.
what I tell
Right
people
on.
all the time.
Take your power back, go enjoy the outdoors.
Yes.